We live.
Welcome, everybody, to the Pistons Talk Podcast on YouTube. I'm Lance Caprosi. Follow me on Twitter before it goes away at Lance Caprosi. Follow my co-host Anthony at Pistons Talk across all social media platforms. Let's get into this.
What do you mean before it goes away?
What do you mean, Twitter? I don't know. It could very well just implode on itself and we don't have it anymore. You never know. That's as much as I'll say on it.
You're not paying $7 a month to get verified?
I always thought the cool thing about being verified was that it was almost like a symbol that you became somebody. You know, I don't know. That's how I thought of it as. Like, hey, I finally made it. That blue check means everything. And now I can pay for it. I don't want to pay for the experience. I want to become the man. That is what I want.
It'd be funny, like, if the people that are verified, they still get the blue check, but, like, the people that paid for it are green. So you know they paid for it.
That would be awesome. That would be amazing. And it'd be funny if they didn't know it was green. Like, so they're prancing around like it is a blue check mark, but we all know it's green. That'd be awesome.
I'm giving you ideas, Elon. I'm giving you ideas, man. That would be the ultimate troll move.
That would be just incredible. All right. So, do you believe I saw this tweet and I saw it was circulating. I don't know if it was circulating on Reddit or not, but I saw it on Facebook. I saw it on Twitter. It gained a little bit of traction, a couple retweets, some likes, some comments. And someone had said that they had heard the Pistons are planning to fire Dwane Casey. So my question is, do you believe that people are hearing the Pistons are planning to fire Dwane Casey? Do you believe that there are people out there that have sources that are so connected that they are hearing this before James Edwards, Omari, Mike Curtis, me, you? It's unbelievable if you've heard it before us. We're so popular. But anyways, like, that's my question to you.
No, like when I saw the tweet last night, saw it get some traction. It's just, I get fans are frustrated, but it's not a real report. It's just someone that got bored on a Saturday night. They didn't go out with the boys. They're like, hey, let me stir up the pot a little bit. A friend of a friend told me that Dwane Casey won't make it to the end of the season. Okay? Like, no.
Yep.
Like, unless it's coming from Woj or, like you said, James Edwards, Keith, Mike, Omari, whoever, like, the Pistons reporters would be all over that. Yep. And I'm sure they're probably going to get asked about it ad nauseum all throughout the week of, like, hey, I saw this tweet about Dwane Casey getting fired. Like, no, he's probably not going to get fired. They'll probably let him finish out his contract. And the assumption is when his contract is up, he may or may not get a front office role. Like, I don't hate Dwane Casey as a person, don't hate him as a coach, but I think we can be in agreement that he's just not the coach for this young core right now. And I think a lot of fans know that because fans aren't stupid. They go to games, you know, they see what type of lineups he does put out there, and they just don't make sense at times. I do think there is going to be a younger coach that does come in and you get this team playing at a level that we do expect. We don't have to worry about aging veterans getting 30-plus minutes a game. But let me say this to Pistons fans. Dwane Casey is the perfect coach to get you into the Victor Wembanyama and the Scoot Henderson sweepstakes. He's not going to win you too many games. He's going to keep you looking like you're actually trying out there, and he's going to get you a top 5 pick. That's all I'm going to say about this. I'm not going to ramble on anymore about, you know, this is a real report because it's not. It's bullshit. But I'm going to let Lance go because, like, when I saw this, I was like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't. It's in. I had to message you first because when I saw it, I was like, I got to ask Anthony because there's no way. I don't know. I never thought, like, I don't like Dwane Casey as a coach for this team. You know, I mean, I'm with a lot of Pistons fans on it. I have my own complaints, but I still think, I mean, I don't think he's a terrible coach. I just don't, I just wish we were getting more out of this team. That was it. And I don't know if there's a coach right now that would get the most out of this team. And Dwane Casey, I feel like he's doing an all right job, but again, he's not my favorite guy for the position. Like, I'm trying to be as nice as I possibly can about this. But what I'm trying to get at is that I'm with you. I think it's his own decision when he wants to leave Detroit. They're not going to push him out. They're not going to do anything like that. They're going to let him finish out and just say, hey, whenever you're ready, we're gonna let you go. But Dwane Casey, I just wanted to talk about it for a split second. But I got a question for you. How desirable do you think is the Pistons job?
I think in terms of like the way you would pitch it is I have Cade Cunningham, I have Jaden Ivey, and I have a young nucleus, and I'm probably going to have a top 5 pick again this year. I think that's how you sell it, and you sell the city. You sell Detroit. You sell that, hey, my G League team's right down the street at Wayne State University. We have one of the best facilities in all of the NBA. The Henry Ford facility, I would say, is top notch. I'm a little biased. There's a gym, and then there's an actual basketball court. There's 2. So I think that's how you sell it. And I think Tom Gore's wallet is going to open up. We all know that he's willing to spend on top tier talent. I mean, he did it with Van Gundy. He did it with Casey. He's always been a guy that always wants that big name. He's not going to go out and, get you like a Kenny Atkinson. He's going to try to get you the best possible coach and kind of put the Pistons in a position where, like, hey, I'm going to get the best guy possible for the job. And I think what a lot of Pistons fans forget is they were all on the Dwane Casey bandwagon when he got fired. A lot of Pistons fans were really excited about that. And they switched up really fast.
Do you think the Pistons coaching job is like a top 5 position in the NBA because of Cade and Ivy and Duren already, and maybe because Troy Weaver's at the helm in the GM spot? Do you think that it's a top 5, or do you think it's even higher? Or do you think it's lower?
It kind of depends. Like, I don't know. I don't know if it would be a top 5 job, but really? I think that if you look at teams around the NBA, like who's going to be on the hot seat this year, like obviously the Celtics are going to be looking for a coach. So I would say that's probably more of a desirable job because I doubt they're going to keep their assistant because they're going to lose Udoka to Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think it's a desirable job, but I don't think it's going to be at the top of like a Celtics job, for example, because the Celtics, you have Tatum, you have Brown, and you have a team that's, ready to compete for the playoffs right away. The Pistons, you need a couple more pieces to compete for the playoffs. You need to give these kids a little bit more time to know what actually winning is and, how to develop like winning habits and how to, actually play a stretch of games where you're winning consecutive games. Obviously the Warriors win was great. That's probably the best game we have seen so far this year, but it's just about them, putting more wins together. And I think once they do that, the job would be more desirable in my opinion.
See, I think it's a pretty desirable job because you have a patient GM, you have an owner that is willing to spend a little bit of money, you have a player in Cade that by all accounts looks like he's going to be one of the best in the league. Ivy looks like he's going to be a fantastic sidekick. You got Duren, who's probably going to be an anchor defensively. Then you got solid pieces like Isaiah Stewart, Sadiq Bay. I don't have to keep naming everybody. You already know. So I think that the Pistons job, when you were comparing it to the Boston Celtics job, yeah, the Boston Celtics, you get Tatum and you get Brown, a dynamic duo. They've, gone far, very deep into the playoffs. But I think if you're a coach just pursuing a championship, yeah, that's the most desirable job. But I still feel like their window as a team is closing, while the Pistons, that window is wide open because you just don't know what this team is yet. So that championship window is wide open because we haven't put all the pieces together, but we got some very strong pieces. So I think the Pistons job might be more desirable, but that's just my take on looking at it, just a different perspective. But man, I got the worst itch on my foot, and I apologize. It is so distracting right now.
It's random as hell, bro.
I know, but I'm watching myself. I normally don't watch myself on the screen, and then I keep just seeing myself tilt down. I'm like, dude, this is annoying. So I'm just explaining why I'm doing it.
I'm sure the people watching live are thankful that it's your foot and not something else.
Okay. Speaking of, the Kings fans are obsessed with Marvin Bagley. And I don't know why it is. You sent me the post and it just seems like it's all malicious. Why are Kings fans still obsessed with Marvin Bagley? Is it because it didn't work out? Is it because he was drafted before Luka? Does it have something to do with his dad? I don't understand why Kings fans still are obsessed with Marvin Bagley. He's in Detroit now. I even saw some fans that were kind of commenting and almost like joyous that he was hurt in Detroit right now. It's terrible. Kings fans are the worst.
Yeah, like I don't get it from their standpoint. Like, obviously you have a bright core with Fox and Sabonis. You got Keegan Murray, Davion Mitchell, the draft before. Like, you have a fun, young, exciting team. You have a good coach in Mike Brown. I don't really get why you're digging up tweets of Marvin Bagley's dad from a year ago saying, like, trade my son out of Sacramento, and saying that he's like the LeVar Ball. Like, I have not seen Marvin Bagley or Team Bagley tweet anything negative about the Detroit Pistons, about trading his son. I don't get that narrative from Kings fans. Like, yeah, obviously they were frustrated the way he was getting treated. Like, the Kings weren't even playing him. He was just on the bench. Like, they were giving him 12th man minutes. From that standpoint, so I could understand why they were upset, being a top draft pick, not getting playing time. But, like, to dig up tweets and saying how Keegan Murray's dad knows the game and he's much more understanding than Marvin Bagley's dad, to me, it's just you're making yourself look like just a terrible fan base.
This one of the comments says that dude Bagley was salty all the damn time. That's why Murray's game is the way it is. Dad says it how he sees it. Great coach and mentor, high IQ. So yeah, I don't get it either. This is so weird. This is like a really bad breakup. I hate to use that analogy, but that's exactly what this is. The relationship between the Kings and Marvin Bagley didn't go the way it should when you draft somebody so highly. But again, by most accounts, the Sacramento, it's one of the worst places to go if you're a young player. Like, yes, they've had some guys thrive. De'Aaron Fox, Keegan Murray looks solid right now, Davion Mitchell, but they've had a number of young players that haven't made it in Sacramento. By most accounts, it's not the most desirable place to go play basketball if you're a young player. It just didn't work for Marvin Bagley. I don't know if the Kings knew what they had in him. They were sticking him in the corner a lot, which was just terrible. Like, he's a beast down low within like inside 5 feet, and they just wanted to have him shoot threes from the corner. They didn't know how to use Bagley. It was a bad breakup between the two, but Kings fans just grow up. Who cares at this point? Be happy Marvin Bagley is thriving somewhere else. That's what you should be.
Yeah, I mean, I posted this past weekend. Jeremy Grant was here for a couple of seasons. He had a game winner for the Portland Trailblazers, and he looks really happy. And yep. I'm happy for him. Like, I'm not, like, if you play for my basketball team and, you give it your all and you try, I'm not going to go and shit talk about you. Unless your name's Stanley Johnson. Then that's completely different.
Why Stanley Johnson?
I don't know, man. It's just, I got way too hyped with him and I got way too invested. And yeah. I think, like, when he shut down LeBron for like one game and he got drafted and he said Detroit versus everybody, I was hooked. And then when he didn't develop a shot within like 3 years, I was just like, I'm done.
What got it for me with Stanley Johnson, he had an article with the Players Tribune called My Bread and Butter. I believe that's what it was titled. And he was so cocky after that one playoff game against LeBron. It's like it was all about how he had arrived. He was there. He was like a LeBron stopper, just stuff like that. And it just didn't work out for Stanley Johnson. I was way too hyped on him too. I was right there with you, Anthony. Like, I was way too hyped. He's the one player that, man, it kind of sucks that it didn't work out for him.
Yeah, that number 7 jersey, I think the Pistons should retire it because it's a cursed number.
It is. It's a bad number to have if you're playing in Detroit. Look at Killian Hayes right now.
Brandon Knight.
Yep.
Brandon Jennings. Dude, that thing is cursed.
And you have to look back on those players and you have to know, like, okay, you see Brandon Knight, he was terrible in it. Stanley Johnson, he was terrible in it. Brandon Jennings, he would like, you think Killian would be like, you know what? They have not had success. I'm not going to test my luck. That's every time a player, I'm not kidding you, every time a player plays for the Pistons and they want to wear number 7, I know it's automatically doomed. They are doomed in Detroit. That's what that doom comes with number 7. It should not be allowed in the city of Detroit.
Yeah, like I'm saying, like when I saw Killian like choose 7, I was like, ah, shit.
Yep.
That poor bastard. He doesn't even know what he's getting himself in for.
It's the curse of 7 in Detroit. It's terrible. All right, we got some news this week. Alec Burks is practicing. This comes from Mike Curtis. He gave us a clip. Looked like Alec Burks was practicing on his mid-range game. So I heard that is he probable for tomorrow's game, Monday's game?
So that was Saturday. It was a Saturday reporting from CBS Sports that said that he was game time decision, but today's report said that he's out. So there's still no timetable on him, so I really don't know when he's going to return, but I think it's going to be soon because that's probably the first clip I've actually seen of him actually on the court shooting.
Yeah.
I haven't seen too much of Alec Burks at all, like outside of I know did a little bit of stuff in training camp, but I think it was like really minimal. It was like standstill shooting. So I think he's just kind of a shiny toy for the Pistons right now, like Pistons fans to kind of see like what's there because they see another 40% shooter and they're getting all excited. I'm excited to see him play. I don't know about you.
No, I am, but I mean, how many weeks do you think he's going to be out? Is like 3 to 4? Are we getting 1 to 2? Is there any timetable that you've heard?
There's no timetable, but I'd have to guess maybe another week or 2.
See, I feel like I don't want to curse it, but I feel like we're not going to see a lot of Alec Burks this year. It just seems like it's one of those injuries that it's going to linger. Like we might see him for a game or 2, and then there's a stretch of games that he's not playing, and then he comes back. Like, I don't know. That's just the feeling I get with Alec Burks. I hope I'm wrong because he is definitely going to holster the second unit and make it better. Definitely because they are terrible. But yeah, it's nice to see him. I'm with you to see him shooting mid-range jumpers in practice, moving, looking like he's getting adjusted to playing basketball again. That's what I like to see. And yeah, I mean, when he returns, I hope the Killian Hayes era is over in Detroit. I'll say that. I don't care if we even get Kojo and it's Alec Burks, or even if it's Alec Burks playing point guard with Hami, I'm okay with that too. I just hope Alec Burks comes in, plays meaningful minutes, and takes minutes away from the kid.
I'm not that far off the edge. I'm not ready to jump like you over there, but
I'm jumping.
I think Killian would do better with Alec Burks than he would with Corey Joseph. That's just me.
Okay. We'll talk about the second unit here in a little bit. So we have more injury updates. Jalen Duren is probable for Monday's game. Marvin Bagley, along with Alec Burks, they are both out for Monday's game. But Jalen Duren, that's great. That game where we had Kevin Knox playing at the 5 against Cleveland, that was terrible. That was one of the worst lineups I've seen. And it's early. I know it's early, but that's one of the worst lineups. I hated it.
Garland and Mitchell didn't even play, and we still got waxed.
Dude, what do you think was a worse loss, that Cavs game or the Bucks game before that?
Oh, it's got to be the Cavs game by far.
Just because Garland and Mitchell were out?
That and Jared Allen looked like prime Shaq out there.
Yeah, that's true. He does against the Pistons a lot.
We just don't have size at the center position. I know we have Duren and he was out, but Stewart does his best. But man, even though Noel being is like we talked last week, he's still getting into shape. Noel just was not in the condition that try to compete with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. That is such a dynamic duo where they just play so well off each other, and the Pistons just did not have an answer for it.
Do you think that game right there kind of showed you? I know it's early. I know we're only 9-10 games into the season. I know it's early, but that game against the Cavaliers without Garland, without Mitchell, and you combine that with the Bucks game, the game before, did it kind of seem like the season was already over with those two games? I'm not trying to be too negative. It was just that was kind of the feeling. I was thinking we're going to get a lot more games like this year where they're not going to be entertaining, where I'm going to be bored, where I'm going to be doing other things while the game is on. Like, it just feels like with those two games back to back that the season is going to be a long one and there's really no hope for them making a play-in run or anything. Like, it just seems like there's not going to be much to root for this year other than development.
I think from that game, my biggest takeaway is how competitive the East is.
Yeah.
Like, excuse me. Even the Central Division, for that matter. I mean, the Pistons division is very stacked. I mean, from the Bulls to the Bucks to the Cavs, and Indiana and Detroit are kind of on like the same playing field. I just think the East is very competitive. It's not that same old narrative where, years ago people are like, oh, dude, the West is so stacked, the East sucks. Yeah. I think the East is right up there with the Western Conference, in my personal opinion. I think every night there's a caliber star player that the Pistons have to go up against in the Eastern Conference. I don't think the season's over. I just think they were taking on teams that are going to make deep playoff runs. And you saw that, the Bucks don't mess around with Giannis. The Cavs are an extremely deep playoff team, even without Garland and Mitchell. They're just a really well-coached team. And I think one positive note I will say for Pistons fans is I want you to look at the Cavs rebuild. The Pistons can try to emulate that because the Cavs only rebuilt for 4 years and they were back in the playoffs. And they made themselves available with trades, with getting a Jared Allen, getting a Karis LeVert. You can turn around a rebuilding franchise very quickly if you put yourself in the position to trade. Like, they got Jared Allen for basically nothing because they put themselves in a trade with multiple teams. The Pistons can do that because they're going to have a ton of cap space next summer. So that's what I want to kind of have, like a positive message. I'm not giving up on the season, even though it's 10 games into the season. I think they were just playing teams that were just at a high level that are playoff caliber teams.
Yeah, I'm still going to watch. Like, I love watching Cade. I love watching Ivy. Like, I'm impressed. Like that, I just love watching the team play, but we're so far away from competing. That was kind of what opened my eyes too. What team were you more impressed with, though? And which team do you think, between Milwaukee and Cleveland, which team do you think goes further in the playoffs this year? Because I'm with you. I think the Cavaliers are very deep. Karis LeVert, I mean, I know he's starting for the team, and he's kind of taken a back seat to obviously Donovan Mitchell and Garland and, Mobley and Jared Allen, but man, he's still a playmaker, man. He's a guy that even if those guys are out, they don't lose much when Donovan Mitchell's out because Karis LeVert is so good. That team is very deep.
I will say with the Cavs, they don't even have Ricky Rubio yet. He's still out.
Yup, that's another one.
But to your question, I think the Bucks, to me, are above them. You just can't vote against Giannis. If Chris Middleton comes back healthy, the Bucks have a very deep team as well, and they have one of the best players in the world in Giannis. I would probably say if the Bucks are fully healthy, they're going to make the Eastern Conference Finals.
Well, and they have great size. That front court, like Brook Lopez, I stupidly said, oh yeah, he's leading the league in blocks. He's on both of my fantasy teams, and I didn't even know that. I knew he was getting blocks, but I said something like he wasn't that good at the rim. He's leading, like he's averaging 3 a game. It's incredible. But then you combine that with Bobby Portis and Giannis, you could realistically even play those 3 together on the floor because Bobby Portis and Brook Lopez can spread the floor. And then you combine that with Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton coming back, Grayson Allen, Wesley Matthews, who had a big shot against the Pistons. They're a very deep team as well. But I think I might have been most impressed with the Cavaliers just because even without Garland and Donovan Mitchell and Ricky Rubio, they were just a force. Guys stepped up and just played phenomenally. Even though it was one game, I was very impressed with the Cavaliers. Do you think, though, the Eastern Conference goes through the Central Division for the next few seasons? Because we are talking about the Bucks, we are talking about the Cavaliers. Those are 2 teams that are right there And then you look at like the Pacers, and then, the Toronto Raptors. They're just a few years removed away from being a championship team. So do you think that the East goes through the Central Division?
Well, I think the Bulls are in the Central Division, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think you said the Raptors, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Were the Raptors in the Central Division at one point a long time ago? Because that's what I might have been confusing them with.
I don't know. I'm not that old. I wouldn't know. I just wanted to clarify that because there's going to be someone correcting us. You dumbasses.
Yep.
You already know. I just want to correct that and beat them to the punch. But I think the Central is a very competitive division. I think realistically, you could have the Bulls, you could have the Bucks, and you could have the Cavs all push for a playoff spot in your own division. I think it's one of the better divisions in the Eastern Conference, but I do think that for a lock, Cavs and Bucks are probably going to battle it out. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw them in the Eastern Conference Finals, honestly, just the way they're playing right now. Like, Cavs lost their first game of the season against the Raptors, and they haven't lost since. Bucks are still undefeated. Like, those are two of the top teams in the East right now, and, they're just playing at a really high level. And I think if Pistons fans look at that, it's like you almost beat the Bucks. You were really close. You were so close. If Brook Lopez doesn't hit that three, you maybe win the game. And I think there's takeaways, there's positives. But like I said, it's a consistency thing right now with the team.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with Detroit. There's a lot going on. Let's get into one of them too. The Detroit Pistons have one of the worst benches in the NBA. This is one of the problems with Detroit. Jack Kelly, the man from Detroit Bad Boys, posted some stats. The Pistons are 29th in points with 23.3 a game, 30th in field goal percentage at 36, 30th in three-point percentage at 27. God, that is terrible. And then 27th in net rating, minus 7.6 point per 100 possessions. So it's a bad bench unit. We know this. And I mean, Alec Burks is out, Duren's out, Marvin Bagley's out. But let's get into this. What changes would you make to help the second unit? I have one change that I would make. And this is me not taking someone out of the starting lineup yet. This is just another thought that I had. And it's about staggering minutes. Just stagger Caden Ivey's minutes. Like, don't have one of them just directly play with the second unit, but have their minutes be played with the second unit. So we have another shot creator. We have another guy that can go make shots. That it's not going to bolster the second unit, but it's going to give you another playmaker with some of the second unit guys. That's one idea that I have for the Pistons.
You know what the sad part is?
What's up?
They're already doing that.
They need to do it more then. Okay? They need to do it more so we notice it. Or at least I notice it.
Yeah, they've been playing Ivy with Killian lately over the past couple of games. And
I did notice that a little bit more.
They're trying to separate because I think what they understand with Cade and Ivy is, yes, they can play together, but Cade is way more effective when the ball's in his hands.
Yep.
Like when he has to kind of split, I think he's not that he's not capable. I think he's capable, but I think he thrives more with the ball in his hands than playing off the ball. And I think Killian is more comfortable taking a second seat to Ivy because Killian's just not confident in anything he's doing right now offensively. So I think that's why you've been seeing that. If I had to make a change, it's actually calling up Braxton Key.
Oh, okay.
I think that saw a lot out of him in the preseason. Seemed like he's just one of those players where he's at the right place at the right time. I would kind of look at the G League to kind of see what I have there, kind of see, I need more scoring, obviously. Like my 3-point percentage is some of the worst in the league. I'd also give Kevin Knox Hamidou Diallo's minutes. I'd start to split those up because I think Kevin Knox, even though, he makes a lot of bonehead mistakes, he's going to give you more offense than Hamidou Diallo. Hamidou Diallo, I love him. Really great slasher, great athlete, but he kind of shoots himself with a foot sometimes where, if if the defense is ready to meet him at the rim, he's still going to try to dunk it over Evan Mobley. He tried it like 2 times.
Yep.
in the game. It's just like I'd rather give the minutes to people on the bench that, give them a shot, see what's there, because it can't hurt, can't get any worse because you're one of the worst benches in the NBA. So you might as well just try throwing something on the wall and see if it will actually stick.
So you're saying check out some players from the G League, give minutes, not give minutes away, but split minutes up and just try other people. That's what you're looking for. And you want to see more minutes for Braxton Key or more minutes for Kevin Knox?
Like I wouldn't give Kevin Knox a whole lot of minutes. Like I said,
yeah.
Like if you're giving like Hamidou 10, or let's say you're giving Hamidou 15 tonight, like give Kevin Knox like maybe 6.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, like I'm not saying like just get Hamidou out of the starting lineup, because I do think he does provide, energy, athleticism, guy that can like really push transition. It's just he can't be your first option off the bench. He just can't. And I think that's a big reason why the bench is failing too.
So let's get into like the more extreme ways of fixing the bench. If you would you replace a starter with a player off the bench? If so, who and who? I saw a couple people talking about this, and it's a thought that I've had before. I don't really love it. I'd rather see him in the starting lineup personally, and that's bringing Sadiq Bay off the bench. Like putting Isaiah Livers in at the starting lineup, which I don't really love right at this moment, even though as you know, I am very high on Isaiah Livers. Very high on Isaiah Livers. Love the kid because we're from the same place. Yeah. I want to say it so many more times, but you had him in your starting lineup. You said you wouldn't be surprised if he somehow made the starting lineup. You tweeted that out at the beginning of the year. You've talked about it on this podcast. I don't love it, but I've seen it from other people. Bring Sadiq Bay off, because Sadiq Bay he's kind of like the odd man out with Cade and Jaden Ivey, because he's still trying to do too much. He gets like tunnel vision. He's trying to be the guy instead of being the 3-and-D guy that we want back. But what about you? Would you replace a starter, bring them off the bench, and bring someone else? Or would you keep it the same?
I would move Isaiah Stewart to the bench.
Okay.
And I would start Duren.
That's another
with Cade and Ivey, because I think just like in the limited time that I've seen them play together, I always feel good about them playing together, because I feel like they feed off each other and they really communicate. Like to me, I feel like Cade, Ivey, and Duren are probably, and Bogey obviously, some of the best communicators on this basketball team. And it kind of gives them more size up front, a guy that can protect the rim, a guy that when that jump shot starts falling, man, it looks pretty. Like he's done it a couple times this year where he kind of backs down on the post and he shoots it. I'm like, man, if that goes in, you got a problem.
But does moving Isaiah Stewart help the bench out?
I think it does a little bit.
Because that's kind of that's the idea I'm trying. That's the question. When I'm asking that question, I'm also asking, you're taking a starter out of the lineup and you're putting him on the bench. Does it help the bench? Not so like I believe Duren over Isaiah Stewart helps the starting lineup. I just don't know. And we've talked about Stewart coming off the bench as well, but I don't know. I just don't know if he's that. I don't know. We kind of flirted with the idea. Like, is he that good of an offensive player right now? Because he is looking for a shot that he'd be better off the bench in that type of like high energy role type, or what? So I don't know. Does Isaiah Stewart help the bench out though if he comes off with the second unit?
I think he does. And I mean, I've even seen fans saying when Bagley comes back, throw Bogdanovich off the bench with the second unit. I mean, I think that makes the most rational sense because he's averaging the most points, almost right next to Cade on the team. He's probably your best offensive threat on the team, and having a player of his caliber off the bench, of where he's kind of played most of his career off the bench or in a six-man type role, would make a lot of sense. But the current state the Pistons are have right now kind of has to start because the offense is kind of stagnant outside of him and Cade.
But do you think that Bogdanovich, I'm gonna call him Bogey. Do you think Bogey makes when I think of a six man, I think of a guy that's creating his own shot. And Bogey right now at the Pistons, I feel like most of his points are coming off others creating shots for him and him creating space for himself. Like we were talking last podcast, how he was communicating with Isaiah Stewart on a screen. He's doing things like that. So do you think he's still good enough at create his own shot to be a six man for this Pistons team? Or, I mean, I like him more just because I think he plays off of Cade, Ivy, and Stewart so well. I like him in that starting lineup, and I just want to see that keep going for him. I just don't think I just don't think he can is that good of creating his own shot now. Or I guess I haven't seen it, I shouldn't say that, to be a six man.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he can thrive if he's on the bench or off the bench. I think he's just a really smart, crafty player. Most of those European players are. I wouldn't really be too worried if he's starting or coming off the bench personally. But I mean, before the Nets played Cameron Thomas, I would have said, "Hey, go trade for Cam Thomas." He's not happy, but Brooklyn's giving him minutes now, and he's cooking.
He just had 17 and 21 in back-to-back games. Yeah. But this is why I think Sadiq Bay would be better off the bench, because the way he's playing offense right now, he's trying to create a lot of offense for himself. And I feel like when he is creating offense for himself like that, it's becoming a black hole and disrupting everything they're trying to do with the starters, with that first unit. So even though I don't love the idea of Sadiq Bay being a six man, I just think the way he's playing basketball, where he's getting the ball, he's getting ran off the 3-point line, and then he's trying to drive a lot. If he's trying to create his own shot and he's trying to create his own offense, let him do that in the second unit where they need someone to do that.
Yeah, my only problem with that is the Livers would do the same damn thing, though. Like,
you think so in the starting lineup?
I think Livers, if you put him in the starting lineup in Sadiq's role, what Livers would probably do is take threes that aren't high percentage shots, because I've seen that from him off the bench. Or he'll probably try to do the same thing Sadiq does. And it's just, you're put in that spot where, you know, the defense is paying attention to Cade and Ivy and Bogey, and, you know, you're trying to make something happen. And I just don't think, I don't really blame for Sadiq for that. The only thing that I would say is frustrating with him as a player is when he tries to force something inside when there's about three bodies around him.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. And like I said, I don't really think it's something, whether you plug Sadiq there, whether you plug Marvin Bagley at the four. I think it just depends on which player you want to put there. Like, you got to pick your poison. Like, Isaiah Livers is a really good 3-point shooter. We know that. Marvin Bagley, really good in the post. Not really a 3-point shooter. Sadiq Bay is, you know, kind of an average 3-point shooter. We've seen his percentages dip over the, you know, last year or so. He's starting to put, you know, more of a package together, like around the rim, where, you know, kind of a post game. It's still evolving, but like, it's not perfect. And I just don't think if you kind of experiment with that, that's not the position I would look to kind of bring off the bench. But that's just me, though.
No, I get it. But what if the Pistons went with a lineup where it was Cade and Ivy in the backcourt? We're not changing that. Bogey at the 3, but then Stewart and Duren, and then they brought Sadiq Bay off the bench with Marvin Bagley.
Man, this is some wild ass shit.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if I'm trying to think of the best way to fix the bench, you put in a defensive guy like Duren that can anchor it, and then you get a shot creator or maker in Sadiq Bay with another offensive guy like Marvin Bagley. Because right now, Marvin Bagley and Sadiq Bay, they're not very good defenders either. Like, if Sadiq Bay is not hitting shots with that unit of Cade and Ivy, what else does he bring to the team? That's kind of more, I guess, what I'm getting at too, when we're talking about Sadiq Bay coming off the bench. Now I'm kind of going all over the place. I apologize for that.
Oh, it's all good. No, like it when you're trying to think of it and rationalize why you would bring Sadiq off the bench, I could see where you're coming from, because, you know, outside of the Warriors game, sometimes when you do look at the box score and you do watch him play, he'll take 18 shots and he's got 20 points. To your point, I think the next stage of his development is finishing around the rim at a higher percentage and starting to pass if nothing's there. Because he does force a lot of shots that are low percentage shots really close to the basket, when there's 2-3 defenders. And that will come with time. That'll come with, more reps, playing with Ivy and Cade and Bogdanovich and Stewart. He's not a finished product. But I think to your point, you did say Stewart and Duren, and you could, I don't know, throw Sadiq out there at the three. Well, if he had those at the 4 and 5 and had Bogey at the 3. See, that's where this kind of gets wild to me.
Yeah.
Because you got to hope that Stewart's like league average from 3 for it to work. Because if he's not, then you're kind of like, I hate to even like compare. I'm not comparing the two, but it kind of feels like Andre Drummond and Josh Smith and Greg Monroe. Like, it's not even the same because Bogdanovich is a better shooter, but like that's where I get like PTSD of like that lineup.
But isn't it it's kind of cool too that we're talking about it when we're thinking about if they do have all these guys and they get Duren, Bagley, and Alec Burks backs. We're talking like, 8 men deep now. We got some fun different lineups and combinations we can throw out on the floor that are gonna be a little bit more exciting for the Pistons. Like that, I guess that's what I'm taking the most away from it. Like, because I'm listening to you and you're just like, man, this is kind of wild. Like we're talking about Bogey starting, then you could have a 3-headed monster of these guys coming off the bench, or we can play these 3. It's kind of cool, like to be able to. When you have a healthy team, it's a lot more fun to discuss them.
100%. I've even seen people say start Bagley at the 4. I have Bagley and Bogey and Isaiah Stewart is, your 3, 4, and 5. And then, obviously you have Duren off the bench still.
So what do you think the consensus is with Pistons fans? Do you think Pistons fans are starting to lean towards Sadiq Bay coming off the bench? Because I saw a little bit of that on social media. Like, I mean, is talking about Sadiq Bay coming off the bench, is that a fair topic in your eyes with Pistons fans, or do you think it's just completely out there and we shouldn't even be talking about it?
I think when you're 2 and 8, I mean, everything's on the table.
Okay.
I mean, if they were above 500 or, they were winning basketball games and they were competing for a playoff spot, then I think maybe it'd be a little bit, I don't want to say crazy, but kind of like a hot take. But I mean, when you're 2 and 8 within your first 10 games, I don't think you're going to see a lineup change yet. But if you're not winning games, and you don't even have 10 wins within like the first 30 games of the season, then you have to make a lineup change. You have to make a trade. You have to do something because Pistons fans aren't going to be quiet about it. You know that. We both know that, how vocal they are on social media at the games. They're not happy with the product on the floor. And you have to do something. You have to, whether it's staggering minutes, like you said, with Jaden Ivey, because you don't like him and Cade playing together, because we both agree Cade's better with the ball in his hands most of the time. You have to do something as a coaching staff to try to change something. Because I think we can both agree 2 and 8 to start up the season, even though this is a rebuilding team, there were a lot of winnable games within the first 10 games. I think we both agree that they should have won the Pacers game.
Yep.
I think they should have won the Bucks game, but like I said, that's what happens when you switch everything. You leave Brook Lopez wide open for 3, and that's not a guy to leave open.
No, it's not.
Like they could have 4 wins instead of 2.
Yeah, no, they could be. You're right. They could. It's just, I don't know. There's a lot to talk about. You're right. There's so much you could do when you're a 2 and 8 team. Nothing is off the table, but who knows with Sadiq Bay. All right, so we got a mock trade for the next topic. Detroit receives Luke Kennard and Jason Preston from the Los Angeles Clippers, and then the Clippers receive Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel. Who wins this trade? Who wins this trade?
I think the Clippers do.
I mean, I guess it depends on if Alec Burks is healthy, and if he stays healthy, then Nerlens Noel, he's just another body. Right now, that's at least what he looks like.
I think if you don't look at the players and you look at the contracts, it's the Clippers all day, because I think what some fans forget is both Noel and Burks, their contracts aren't guaranteed next season. And that's a lot of cap space for the Clippers. And if you remember, the reason why we traded Luke is because we didn't want to give him that big contract that he did get from the Clippers. And he got paid.
He got paid.
Yeah. In this trade, I think Luke Kennard, I think Pistons fans, they know what they're going to get. They're going to get a very good 3-point shooter. And I think he's grown a lot in Los Angeles because sometimes I will watch the Clippers play. He's grown a lot as a player. He's a better passer, more confident, more vocal. I think he's learned a lot from Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, obviously. I think he's grown as a player. And the one-time Piston-powered blogger, Jason Preston, that would be kind of like a Cinderella story probably for him. If you guys don't know, Jason Preston actually used to write for Piston Powered. He was a Piston fan growing up. And I believe he went to Ohio. Is that correct?
He did.
Yeah. He had a really good college career. I think he went in the second round, if memory does serve.
Yep, second,
but
third overall.
He's just a scrappy player. I like the trade for the Pistons. I mean, if you were to get that at the deadline, I think most Pistons fans are probably happy because you're moving off of contracts, but of Burks and Noel, and you get 3-point shooting, and you get a guy. Maybe there's something there, maybe there isn't. You're not really losing sleep over it. I think it's like a C+ trade if you're the Pistons.
I actually like it, and I would welcome Luke Kennard back in Detroit. I mean, it's not like his time in Detroit was bad. Some fans were pretty insufferable when it came to Luke Kennard. My gosh, I'll never forget retweeting a poll where it's like, where do you see Luke Kennard in 5 years? All-star, MVP. I'm like, no, just a role player. And they're like, dude, you suck. How could you say that about Luke Kennard? You don't think he's going to be MVP? No, I don't. But yeah, I would welcome Luke Kennard back. 46% from the 3-point line so far this season. He did shoot like 43% last year. It was unreal, throughout the season. Actually, yeah, 45% from 3-point on 6 attempts. That's just unreal. I would love to see him back in Detroit sniping. Could you imagine Kate throws it cross court in the corner? There's Luke Kennard balding, stroking it with his left hand in the corner. Boom, that'd be incredible. I would love to see it in Detroit. And I love Jason Preston, not because he was just a blogger for the Pistons Powered, because he's a 6'5" point guard. He's probably the next DeLon Wright. Why not give him a chance? He can play multiple guard spots. I would love to see Jason Preston in Detroit. I would love this trade. I don't think it's that. I think it's a win for the Pistons. It's a win for the Clippers as well, because you're right, that contract money is coming off, but you're still getting a semi-young guy in Luke Kennard who has grown as a professional, who knows his role, who knows exactly what to do what a team asks of him, and then Jason Preston, who could have a little left in the tank. I like that trade. Solid.
So I was thinking about it, and Troy Weaver, if you kind of look of kind of his track record when he does trade for people, like a lot of people get mad during free agency that we don't go after like big names.
Yep.
But I feel like the way Troy constructs his team so far in Detroit is he trades for guys that he wants. He traded Svi Mykhailiuk for Hamidou. I think he really wanted Hamidou. He traded for Marvin Bagley. He wanted Bagley for a few years. He got him for basically nothing. He traded for Bojan Bogdanovic, gave him Kelly Olynyk and Saban Lee. I think there's going to be another trade this year where there's a player that Troy Weaver really wants, and he's going to trade for him. And why I'm bringing this up is because I think this will be the Pistons' kind of like an early start to their free agency. Because if you kind of look at Troy's track record, he hasn't really spent more than $20 million on a free agent. Bojan and Jeremy Grant are his two highest players he's ever paid. He paid Jeremy Grant $20 million, and he's paying Bojan around the same. Troy Weaver isn't a GM that just hands out money like crazy. They're very budget-friendly contracts. Even Marvin Bagley's deal was $13 million. I think he's really smart of how he's cleaned the books. You have a bunch of guys that are on rookie contracts where you're going to have to extend them. I mean, you got Sadiq's extension coming up. You got Isaiah Stewart's extension coming up. You got Killian Hayes. What are you going to do with him? So I think that's what Pistons fans are going to have to look for this summer. I don't think we're going to obviously extend them like crazy, like some of the other players that got extensions. But I think they'll be fair, and they'll be at a very, cost effective salary. I don't think, you're going to like go crazy. I think the only player that's on a rookie deal that'll probably get the full max extension is Kate. And that's a couple years away.
Yeah. Yeah. No, man, I wish I knew who you were talking about with that trade. I'm getting antsy for this news that I hope drops someday in a little bit. But just back to yeah, I know you will. But like, just back to this trade. Yeah, I love it, man. I really do. It's a marginal move that I think can pay off in a bigger way. I do have a mock trade for you though that I wanted to bring up. I saw this on Facebook. It's a 2K trade.
Okay.
It's with the Denver Nuggets. So the Pistons receive Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, and then some guy named Zeke. He's just a throw in. But the Pistons give up Bogey, Jaden Ivey, Isaiah Stewart, Jalen Duran, Hami Diallo, and Corey Joseph.
Wow.
This is one of the worst trades I've ever seen.
I know why it was a 2K trade. To say that. I don't think there's any chance in hell this happens. Yeah, man. Like, if you would have told me it was a 2K trade, like, I could give you some 2K trades. I mean, I could trade LeBron James for Saban Lee. Like, straight up. Like, 2K trades are the worst, bro. Like, I used to be the master at 2K trades. I would have, like, 6 All-Stars on my team, and I would just trade first-round draft picks and make it go through. Like,
I'm just laughing just a little bit because when we were talking about Kevin Knox playing against the Cavaliers, we saw how small that team is, and then I'm reading who they're giving up are only tall guys, Isaiah Stewart and Duran. I'm just like, this guy's an idiot. Like, he really thinks that Michael Porter Jr. could probably play the center, in real life. Where does Jamal Murray fit in? Why? It's one of the worst trades, and I'm I'll leave it at that. It's one of the worst ones I've ever seen. And you're right, 2K. I used to be the king of those two. I would get whoever I wanted without trade override on. I loved 2K trades, but this is one of the worst ones I've ever seen, and it would never happen.
Yeah, I mean, there is a website that, if I get bored, I want to see if it's still around. Let me see.
Is there a 2K trade machine website?
There is.
Oh my gosh.
I wouldn't say it's like 2K. It's more realistic. It's like where fans kind of get to. So it's called Fanspo.
Okay.
Where, you can basically, throw trades in. You can even throw draft picks in. And like sometimes you will see trades that make sense and you can kind of get ideas from. Like you go on there, they have like top 20 trending players and you can kind of read other fans' mock trades. And I think it's a really cool website. Anyone in the chat wants to check it out, I will copy a link and you guys can check that out. Like I said, you'd have to be a sicko to try to get some of these in there, but go try it out if you guys want to try it out. Like, I don't know.
Dude, I didn't believe when I posted something about Bol because I don't know if you saw one of the games he had a few nights ago. I believe it was 18 points, 16 rebounds, and I want to say 6 blocks. Like, it was in an unreal game.
Yeah, for sure.
Game. So I tweeted something about it, and I was kind of surprised that a lot of Pistons fans said they weren't like sick to their stomach or weren't upset that the Pistons weren't able to keep Bol. Are you buying that from Pistons fans? Or, I mean, maybe some aren't. Maybe some are just like, whatever, the trade didn't happen. I can look past it. But when you see Bol putting up those types of stats and those types of numbers and like just how he can play with almost anybody, it seems like, and I get it. It's Orlando. They're going to just try things. But I'm not buying fans saying they're not upset that the Pistons weren't able to keep Bol. I think that's bull.
That's bullshit, right?
Yeah, it is.
I know I mentioned, I don't know if it was this week or last week, because I asked you about Bol. I was like, dude, are you upset that the trade didn't go through? He had a hell of a game. I believe it was against the Kings. And I did see your tweet, and some Pistons fans were saying, like, well, the Pistons doctors didn't clear him. Like,
Yeah.
if he plays more than this season, then yeah, we messed up. I think when you look at him during that trade, like, there obviously had to be something really wrong with his medical history for the Pistons to reject it, because you see what he's doing in Orlando. You see him. I think they had him at a point guard sometime last week. Like, Orlando's just having fun out there. I mean, they're rebuilding, but they're having fun.
Yeah.
I think you're a rebuilding team. You really didn't have anything to lose. Like, I get Ronnie Magruder is probably one of the most impactful veterans that we don't hear about from the media. I went to a game, like, him and Corey Joseph. Those two are so close. Like, those two, like, they do like this like weird thing during the pregame warmups where they both like bounce the basketball, and whoever shoots and makes it wins the game, and whoever loses has to do 10 push-ups. Like, dude, they're just having fun out there. Like, I get it. Like, you want to keep a veteran, you want to keep the locker room in good spirits, but you can't deny what Bobo is doing in Orlando, and he's putting together not one game but multiple games where you're like, what could have been.
Yeah, I'm looking at his stats right now, and I guess it wasn't more. It's not just like, I'm not blaming Troy Weaver. I get it. Like, he did have a long history of, with just, I think it was with his foot. That was what he had the problems with. Like, when he came out of college, he broke his foot. And then, I mean, he only played 7 games. He only played 53 games his first 3 seasons in Denver. It's just, I'm okay as a Pistons fan and just a basketball fan saying, like, dude, it sucks that we missed out on this kid. Like, injuries are not, the talent was there. There's a reason that before the injury, when he was in college, that they were talking about him being like a top 5, top 10 pick. Like, he had serious talent. I'm upset as a Pistons fans we weren't able to keep this guy on the team. Even if he just sat out that whole year, probably still would have ended up with Duren. Just imagine Bobo, Duren, and Isaiah Stewart as your front court. That would just be incredible. I'm upset that it didn't happen. I think it's just hilarious that there are some Pistons fans that were tweeting at me saying, no, it doesn't bother me. I'm not upset about it. It's just, I understand what the Pistons were doing. Like, there was a medical reason it didn't happen. Dude, it's okay to be upset. Like, we can be mad at Troy Weaver. He messed up one time. He messed up letting Bobo out of Detroit. I think we can say that.
Yeah, I mean, when Stan Van Gundy traded for Monty Eunice, I remember when the trade got rejected.
Yep.
And Monty Eunice was very vocal about the Pistons doctors and how they're, I don't want to say like quack, because that is very offensive to a medical doctor. But Monty Eunice still played in Europe after he wasn't in the NBA anymore. He did play for a couple of seasons before he did retire, because the Pistons said that his back wouldn't last. They said that Bobo's foot wouldn't last. Now, if they're right, and we see Bobo on the sidelines within the next couple of weeks or so, then maybe we can pump the brakes on this. But you have to admit, he does look very good in Orlando. He's just putting together really great games. But we're gonna have to just wait and see what happens with him. Like, if he's doing this for 3-4 years and that foot's fine, then the Pistons medical team, they just messed it up, plain and simple.
Yeah, and I think with a guy like Bobo and the talent that's there, I think you take a chance on the foot, with especially when you're only trading Rodney Magruder. Not being disrespectful to him, it's just, dude, you have a chance to put a Victor W. Light on your team like that. I'm saying Victor W. Light just because he's 7'2", can shoot threes, dribble the ball, block shots, incredible.
Like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, you get it. I shouldn't have to explain myself, but sometimes you have to. Do we have any Q&A question? Oh, no, let's get into the game reviews. My bad. We have a couple of games this week. Completely forgot. We're still early into the season. I apologize. Let's look at number 1. On Monday, we have the Thunder at the Pistons. What do you think? Win or loss for the Pistons in this one?
I think this is a winnable game, but I remember the preseason game we had against them, and I was very surprised. Now, in my heart, I want them to lose, and it's not because of I don't feel like they can't win, but I know what the Thunder are going to do 4 months down the road.
Yeah.
They're going to shut everyone down. Strategically, the Pistons should go out there and blow it. I know fans don't want to hear it, but I mean, this draft class is stacked, man. Like outside of Scoot and Victor, there are some really good players in this draft class that in a few months from now, you guys are going to say, "Man, why did we beat the Thunder? Thunder have a higher pick than us." I can already hear it.
Yeah, no. So you think the Pistons? So you think the Pistons win this game, though? You think it's
Yeah, I do. It's kind of like the Lions today. I mean, you have the best odds for the number 1 draft pick, and you go around and fuck around and beat the Packers.
So 15-9, 15-9, hell of a game.
Honestly.
Interception for Aiden Hutchinson. Hell of a game for that kid. I think the Pistons win this game. I think I don't know. There's just something about it. Like, I don't know. I just think the Pistons are going to win this game. Cade's going to be playing. Ivy, they're going to want to show up. I feel like they're going to want to show up against the Thunder. So I'm going to say they beat the Thunder. Then we have the Pistons at Celtics. That's game number 2 of the week. Celtics, I think we're both in agreement. They're probably going to blow the Pistons out in this one.
I don't know, man. That's a Celtics kryptonite.
Okay. How many times has Dwane Casey beat them since he's been in Detroit?
That's some stat muse type stuff. I'm about to look that up.
Yeah, I want to look it up because you said that's kryptonite. We need to have why is it kryptonite?
I'm about to look it up.
Dude, I hope Dwane Casey just has wouldn't it be like crazy? It's like 90% against the Boston Celtics.
Okay, so in his coaching career, he's beat them 22 times. So I'm going to go to just Detroit. So in Detroit, he's beaten them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times out of 8 times.
Oh,
so, I mean,
yeah, that's kryptonite. Okay, that's kryptonite. So are you taking the Pistons in that game? It's at Boston. Are you taking the Pistons in that game?
I got a feeling, man. I don't know what it is. I think they mess around and they beat Boston.
Okay. So are you saying, though, for the first 2 games, they're going 2-0 this week? Are you saying 2-0? Okay. Yes. Anthony's saying 2-0. I'm saying 1-1. Third game of the week, Pistons at Knicks. I don't know.
That's an L.
This is a toss-up game, though, right? I feel like it's a toss-up game. It could go either way. It's the Knicks, man. They look like a contender one day, and then they look like the Pistons the next day.
Yeah, but they're going to be licking their chops playing the Pistons.
Okay. All right. So you say it's the Knicks.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, you're 2-1 on. You're thinking they're going 2-1 in the first 3 games. I think they go 1-2 in the first 3 games. Okay. 4th game of the week. I mean, Celtics at Pistons. Now, what do you think about the Celtics in this game? You think they're beating the Pistons at home?
Celtics again?
Yeah, that's the 4th game. I believe I'm correct. So it's two games. 1 in Boston, 1 in Detroit. And I believe this is a Saturday game.
I think they'll let me flip that. I think they'll lose on the road to Boston, but I think they'll beat them at home.
Okay. What do you think is the largest margin of victory for the Pistons this week, since you've picked them to win twice?
Probably like 6.
6? Okay. All right, 6. I'm going to go ahead and say the Pistons win 1 game this week, and they're going to win by 5. I'm going to go 1 point below you, and they're going to win by 5. And you say 6. So you think they go 2-2? I say they go 1-3 on the week. That's my record.
Okay, I got 2-2.
Okay. We were both after the first week. I don't know what our record is after week number 2 or anything, but we were spot on the first week. We just got the games wrong, but we were right on the record.
Yeah, we didn't think the Warriors just forgot how to play defense. Like, we thought they were going to beat the Cavs. We were dead wrong.
But looking back, but looking back on that Warriors game, it kind of feels like it almost felt like we both should have just said, they're probably, let's just say they're going to beat the Warriors. Like I felt like we both could have said that, and not looking back, obviously wouldn't have been crazy, but it felt like we could have said that at the time, and people probably would have agreed with us. Like, yeah, it feels like a game the Pistons win.
For sure.
I don't know. We got any Q&A questions?
We don't, but I did want to ask you a question because I've been looking at the Utah Jazz, and they're a rebuilding team, much like the Pistons.
Yeah.
There's one player on that team that you could trade for right now. Who would it be?
One player on the team? I'd probably go. Man, I don't want to make myself sound like an idiot, so I'm going to look him up real quick.
Okay.
I was looking at one player on their team earlier today. It was actually Walker Kessler. Originally, I would have thought, like, before I looked at the numbers, because I knew he was getting some minutes, I'm like, yeah, maybe Walker Kessler, but I'm going Lauri Markkanen. That'd be my guy.
I thought you would go that route.
You thought I'd go Lauri Markkanen?
No, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. Who would you go?
Lauri Markkanen would be my first pick, but my second pick would be Jordan Clarkson.
What? Okay, why Jordan Clarkson?
I think if you kind of look at Jordan Clarkson, I think we were talking about how can you make the Pistons bench better. I think Jordan Clarkson is a guy that I don't want to put him in that Lou Williams sixth man of the year type of category, even though he had, I believe he's won it before.
Yeah, I think he's won it twice, but
I think he would just be a really good addition to the Pistons. Like you could start him if you wanted to, or you could bring him off the bench. I think Lauri Markkanen obviously is probably going to be the pick. If you're the Pistons, I think you could put him right in the starting lineup at that 4 position or that 3 position, because he did play a little bit of 3 with the Cavs last year, and he's really flourishing. Him and Kelly Olynyk are just killing teams right now. But yeah, I think Lauri Markkanen or Jordan Clarkson would probably be top of my list to trade for.
I was gonna say not Kelly. Wow, I was not gonna say Kelly Olynyk. I was gonna say Colin Sexton too, because of the bench, because he's coming off. He's only averaging like 13 a game, but I think he's shooting around 44%, maybe 46% from the field. Like it kind of feels like he's adopted and he's gonna start thriving in that 6-man role. So I was thinking Colin Sexton, but I just saw the numbers for Lauri Markkanen, and 22-9 with 3 assists. He's a guy that can spread the floor, and the Pistons desperately need size. So I think, Lauri Markkanen would be my top choice. But I like the answer of Jordan Clarkson because he does help the bench unit, and he is a very good 6-man. He did win it 1 year, not 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I've always really been high on Jordan Clarkson. I don't know. There's a photo that the Jazz put out on their social media. It's so hilarious. It's got LeBron and Westbrook, and the way LeBron is looking at Clarkson. Like, I'll have to share it with you, man, dude. It's the funniest shit. Like, I just thought in the back of my head, I'm gonna trade for him. Like, I could see it. Like, it's just, I think it would solve a lot of issues off the bench wise for the team right now.
Oh yeah, and you could play him with Cade and Ivy. Whether you wouldn't. That's what I like about a guy like Jordan Clarkson, because you're right. You can either bring him off the bench or you can start him. But also he has a good enough offensive game where either you can play on the ball, off the ball, and you can mix him up, and you wouldn't really miss a beat. He'd be fun to have on the team. That's the right type of 6-man you want coming off your bench. A guy that's versatile and can play with your starters, and you don't skip a beat. I like Jordan Clarkson, but I'd go Lauri.
I thought it was a fun question because I know like they're in a similar situation as we are. They're just winning games right now. We're not. But I think they will cool off a little bit. And I think Jordan Clarkson is probably going to be on the trading block very soon. Because obviously Utah doesn't want to like win at the clip that they're winning at. They want to, like, my conspiracy theory. I thought they were going to get Victor W. I thought they were going to be absolutely trash, but they're balling, man. They're beating really good teams too.
That's what's funny though about these teams that prepare to tank in the offseason. They get screwed with the guys they traded for. They're like, dude, fuck that. We're going to just go all out. We're going to win some games. That's what happened to Utah.
Yeah, I mean, I think another player that, like, we're talking about 6-man, we could go to Orlando, Terrence Ross. He's another player that could be a six-man type of player. Feels like he's in trade rumors every year. And he did play for Dwane Casey in Toronto, so maybe there's something there.
So his nickname is the Human Torch. Jordan Clarkson's was the Flamethrower. So in order to be a proper six-man, you got to have like some type of fire nickname. But Terrence Ross, he's solid too. I've always liked his game. I think he's one of those. I think he went for 50 points in a game too.
He did.
Yeah, one of the most random players to do it. Incredible for Terrence Ross. He's been in Orlando for a while. I'm looking up the numbers, by the way.
Yeah.
He's only 31 too. Yeah, I like Terrence Ross. Do you see the Pistons making a trade for a guy like this though this year?
No, it makes too much sense. No, I think what the Pistons will do is they'll just put themselves in really good draft position this year. Like I said, if there's a trade to be made where it makes them better, obviously they'll do it. But like I said, I don't see them like trading away like Sadiq or anything like that because I don't really think there'll be a trade available where it benefits them.
Did you also pick Utah because we've been kind of making fun of them the past couple of weeks?
For what?
Well, for to pick a player from on their team.
No, it's just I'm just looking at them. And I was just like, man, they're gonna have to trade some players if they want to, stay somewhat competitive in the this year's draft sweepstakes to get Scoot or Victor or one of the Thompson brothers.
So I'm looking up Lauri Markkanen's nicknames. Here's three nicknames: the Finisher because he's Finnish, Lauri Legend, and then Lauri Bird.
Lauri Bird, good lord.
Those are great nicknames. I just can't believe he's averaging 22 and 9. And he's only shooting 30% from the three-point line. He's incredible. It's the guy you want, man.
100%.
100%. All right. Is that the podcast? Are we closing it?
Yeah, I mean, like some of the questions we have are, I'll just read it. Does Alec Burks push Killian to the bench or eventually Shanghai?
We talked about this a little bit. Whose minutes does he take? I think it's pretty clear that he's going to be taking Killian's minutes. Even though that Dwane Casey quote from earlier in the day, I think Omaria tweeted it out, where they have no intention of sending Killian Hayes to the G League, and that Dwane Casey wants him quarterbacking and playing defense, and that's all they're asking him. I don't get it.
I don't know. I think in some sick alternate universe, Casey plays Killian, Kojo, and Burks and all in one lineup off the bench.
Dude, if we see that, holy crap. I will watch it just to see if something just happens in LCA, like a couch burning or something, just randomly in LCA when that happens, because that will be the downfall of the Pistons. If we ever see those three on the floor together, that would be just that would be a new level of Detroit for the Pistons.
I mean, you put Kevin Knox in the 5, anything's on the table.
Oh my God, are we going to get that? Or are we going to get Knox at the 5? The only competent player is going to be Isaiah Livers standing in the corner at the 4, and then have Alec Burks, Killian Hayes, and Kojo out there with them. I shouldn't have said anything about Alec Burks. He's competent, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't even know where Burks, like, minutes wise, obviously it'd probably be Corey Joseph. You'd probably like to see him get less minutes because Burks is a better player at this point of his career. He's more reliable, in my opinion. Not to say Corey Joseph is a scrub or anything, but he's not a guy that's really team oriented. It's just dribble, shoot. You don't really see him pass too much. It's just kind of like ISO ball. It's like lifetime. There's always that one guy that just dribbles, and shoots it, never passes it. That's Corey Joseph to a T.
You think Corey Joseph, every time he touches the floor, he's thinking career high?
No, I just think that's just the way he plays. I mean, even back in his San Antonio days, he did that. Pop used to pull his hair out.
I know. I remember when Corey Joseph was drafted, and I just remember I remember watching him in college. I believe he played at Texas, and just thinking like, I always get that every time I've watched someone in college. I always think they're going to be a great player in the NBA. I'm just thinking like, well, I watched him one time, so he's going to be great. I thought the same thing about Corey Joseph. I was wrong.
So I got a funny story because questions aren't really coming in, and I thought I would tell it to everyone listening because I thought this was funny as hell. So watching the game, get a text from a coworker, and he's not really a basketball fan,
Okay.
but he texted me. He was like, "Yo, thought we traded Jeremy Grant. What's he doing on the floor?" I'm like, "What?" And I'm looking. I was like, "Oh shit." Nerlens the Wells wearing number 9, and he's got braids. It's like, I said, that's Noel. That's not Jeremy Grant. He was just like, oh shit, my bad,
dude. That's bad. I did that on accident with Keldon Johnson and Dante Murray. It was with a Twitter. I just saw the Spurs jersey. It's like, who would you want to pair with these guys in the backcourt? I'm like, oh, dude, Cade and Dante Murray. That would be incredible. But it was actually Keldon Johnson. I've done that before. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, no, but like when I got that text, it's funny though because like obviously Grant wore 9, Duran choosing 0. That was Andre Drummond's number. Ivy wore 23. That was Blake's number. Like
there's no originality anymore with number picking. No originality. We need some high 90s players.
I mean, Servetus had the balls. He was 91.
Yeah. It doesn't work. Those numbers don't work for everybody. It didn't work with Servetus. 91 didn't work for him. He needed like 18.
That's Joseph's number.
I was wondering why 18. I was wondering where I had seen that before. That's another weird number that people wear, 18. Gosh.
Let's see. There's a question. When does Duran come back? He could come back tomorrow, actually, against the Thunder. It's probable.
Yeah, that's what Omari Sankofa had tweeted out earlier in the day.
Which, I mean, that should be a fun matchup if he does come back against OKC. Because OKC, I mean, you got Pokashevsky, but I mean, Pokashevsky, like, either he's going to dominate or he's going to have some low lights on Jack and a fool. There's no in between.
No, I know him and Baisley. Like, I don't know. They have such lows and such highs as players. There is no in between with those players, man. But I'm excited to see Giddey, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Who doesn't like SGA?
I do. I wish OKC would freaking trade him.
Well, they're eventually going to. That's like an OKC thing. They'll eventually trade him.
They should just do it now, man. They're just wasting his prime, honestly.
I know it too, because they're gonna have him sit at some point during the season just to tank, and it makes no sense. I hate it. I honestly I'm starting to hate the Oklahoma City Thunder in the way they're running their team. Like, I get why you do it. I just hate it. I hate it as a basketball fan.
It reminds me of the Celtics when they did the trade with, I think, the Nets a few years ago, when they just had so many draft picks, and like they would just draft guys that were in and out of the league within 2 years.
Yep.
Like they just whiff on draft picks. Like outside of like Tatum, Brown, Robert Williamson, like they really haven't hit like hard on like a draft pick. And let's look at all the draft picks that they had.
Yeah, it's a dangerous game you play when you invest in draft picks, because again, you don't know how they're going to turn out.
100%. Like, it's so funny. Poku can do both in one possession. Yes, you are 100% right. He can have a highlight and a low light in one possession.
I love Poku though, man. I really do.
Yeah, like, sucks that like Chet Holmgren is out for the year too.
I know. I want to see him play. But I feel like out of all the guys that we've seen over the years that have got hurt and missed their rookie year, they've all been pretty good. They've bounced back and have been good players. Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons was good for a minute, Blake Griffin, just to name a couple.
I was thinking about this the other day when we were watching the Pistons, because I was watching Mobley, and then you had obviously Chet this year. Now you have Victor.
Yep.
Are we starting to see an evolution of the center position?
That is interesting. Like, that is, I think we're getting to a point where we might see centers only like what, 230 pounds, maybe.
I know it's a really small sample size with Evan Mobley, you know, and then you have Chet, and now you have Victor. But like, they're not like, I'm really showing my age. Like, they're not like, you know, bulky, you know, 270-pound centers. They're not like a bunch of Brad Millers.
Yeah, no,
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
I mean,
our Big Country, or, you know, like if you know what Big Country is, then you're probably just as old as I am.
oh man, Big Country, Brian Reeves, man.
Yeah.
Big Country out of Oklahoma. I think it was Oklahoma, maybe Wyoming, but either way, yeah. No, you're not. Maybe you're right. Maybe you are seeing the 5 spot. I mean, are we going to see centers at like 215 pounds? Because I said 230, and you're like, dude, that might still be too heavy. That was the look you gave me.
Well, it's funny because like you look at like guys like Sadiq that are like 230 and 6'8".
Yeah.
And like Jalen Duren's like 6'10", 250. Like, I think it's an evolution of the game, because I think what's going to happen with basketball is it's going to be positionless, and you're just going to have guys that can play 1 through 5, which is absolutely scary.
Yeah, but it's weird too that we're getting smaller at certain positions, because we were talking about Grant Williams. There's always going to be Grant Williams, a PJ Tucker, probably a Bruce Brown, all in the NBA, where traditionally they would have been in the backcourt, but now you're seeing them. Trey Mann for, I believe, the Clippers, or maybe it was Oklahoma City. I forget which one was playing like a 5-spot 2 for them, kind of like a free safety almost.
Yeah.
In basketball. Like, you're seeing, it's so weird the big positions are getting small and the small positions are getting big. It's crazy. It's a weird evolution.
For sure. I mean, Kevin Knox at the 5, man. That's groundbreaking.
Exactly. I hope we never see it again. I thought they were trying to do, like, maybe they were thinking like, maybe Kevin Knox is Sean Marion. Maybe that's who we got. We're gonna play him at the 5 and see what he can do.
It's so funny because I saw a coup that does Locked On Pistons, and when he tweeted that out, because like I went downstairs for a little bit, so I missed like part of the quarter, and I rewinded it. I was like, "There's no damn way that they played." I was like, "Dude, holy crap, he's playing the 5."
I'm pretty sure Dwane Casey said we might see that this year with Kevin Knox. So
he's not big enough.
Yeah. No, I thought Kevin Knox seriously was like 6'8", 6'9", but no, he's only like 6'5", 6'6". He's short for, especially at the 5. It was bad. He's not PJ Tucker, man.
No, that's where it's just like, you know, you're getting blown out, and then you're just like, yeah, who gives a shit?
Exactly. That's exactly what that move was. We don't care what happens. It's Kevin Knox.
Honestly, we really don't have any questions this week. I think people are kind of mad that we didn't do any questions on Wednesday.
Oh, well, we're sorry. The game was being played.
Literally.
Yeah.
But we could wrap this podcast up. We've been on for almost an hour and a half. Seems like we do it almost every week.
That's fine with me, man. Like I said, I love doing this, man. It's fun. I was just telling someone about this the other day. I'm like, it's so cool with like the way technology is done today. Like, I'm in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I essentially have my own sports talk show with Anthony. Like, this is really cool that we get to do this every week. Like, it's fun. And I'm glad people, whether it's like 10, 50, or 1,000 people listening to me or listening to us, it's just cool to be able to do this every week and just kind of have fun. And, you know, I get to, you know, kind of be an idiot sometimes with some of my takes. And it's just a lot of fun talking basketball with you guys, man. I love it. So
100%. But why don't you tell the people where they can find the podcast, how they can support it and rate 5 stars.
Exactly. So thank you guys for listening to the Pistons Talk Podcast. Do us a favor, go to Google, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe. After you subscribe, leave a review, drop a rating, but more importantly, tell a Pistons fan.